Hello, I'm going to talk to you now about how I found Costya, my 29-year-old son, dead in 2023. So, Costya had been an addict for over 10 years, between 10 and 15 years, an alcoholic, a drug addict, with massive mental health and physical health problems which arose from his lifestyle choices and addiction. He was a crazy man, but he was a good man. And I didn't know what to do with him or about him. I had never experienced in my life anything like dealing with him. Things had looked up for him a bit. He'd got a wonderful new partner, and he was beginning to cooperate with social workers and with his mental health team. He seemed to want to get out of this hole he was in. He called me late one Wednesday night around 11 o'clock. Every time the phone rang from Costya, I would have panic. I didn't know what would be on the end of that phone. I picked it up, and he told me he'd had an argument with his partner. And then he went on to say, stay with me on the phone, talk to me, and stay with me all night. And he sounded desperate. And I said, no, I need my sleep. I'll call you tomorrow morning. And anyway, I'd planned to go up and see him on the Friday, so I said, I will see you on the Friday. And I put the phone down on him. Immediately, I called back to say, I'm sorry. And the phone rang and rang. And then I called back around midnight, and the phone was cut off. People had stayed on the phone all night with Costya. I know some of his friends would do that, but they were in the same state as him. They were crazy addicts. But their compassion for each other was astonishing. Not all the time, but often. I couldn't get through to Costia before Friday. I went up on the train, and I was very happy looking out of the window at the countryside, and I remember thinking, this is the last time I'm going to feel happy. And that thought not really meaning anything to me. When I got to Costia's flat, the door was left unlocked. He hadn't answered the front doorbell. I walked in, and he was lying on the sofa. And I knew something was wrong. He was the wrong colour. I went in to him, and I said, Costia, wake up. And I put my hand out to touch him, and he was cold, freezing cold. And I thought, I need to put a blanket on you, you're too cold. But I knew he was dead. I knew when I walked in the room. I knew he was dead. As I looked at him, I thought, your eyes are flickering, maybe you're alive. And I said, Costia, are your eyes flickering? Are you still here? And there was nothing, absolutely nothing. So I called the ambulance, and they came round with the police. And I had thought to sit with Costya and just be with him. I had maybe I had 5 minutes before they arrived. And I sat with him for that 5 minutes, and I was in shock, deep shock. When the ambulance crew arrived, it became a crime scene because nobody knew why Costya had died. I did. So I went to sit in the ambulance, and I stayed there for about 4 hours on my own, just looking into space, feeling that the crazy had finished and was over. And then I remembered, on that call on the Wednesday night, when Costya had said, stay with me on the phone all night. He said, you can sleep, just keep the phone on so I can hear you breathing. When I said no, he said, I'm just going to do it then. And I said, if you do, make sure you call an ambulance before that happens. Costya had been trying to kill himself for years. There were many suicide attempts and he always came through. Somehow he called an ambulance, or somebody else did. When I was in the back of the ambulance while the police and the ambulance crew were checking out the scene, they said, we had a call after my call on that Wednesday night, and the ambulance came out to him. They wanted to take him into the hospital, but he wouldn't go. He had decided not to go. They left him with some advice, which was, don't drink any more tonight, which was understandable, but also ridiculous to an alcoholic of his seasoned years. I think that though Costya's result of his inquest was natural causes, I believe that he also killed himself. And I feel with Costya that the darkness that overwhelmed him got his body and his mind, but it didn't get his soul. I believe he thought the only way out of this darkness was to take his life and go home, though to him it wasn't going home, it was just stopping the pain. I believe that Costya was taken home by people who adored and loved him in the light, and he went where Dimitri is now, to the greatest rehab in existence with 100% success rate, where he is healing and resting and being loved. He was a remarkable man. He was my teacher. I'm a light kind of person, and he showed me darkness, endless darkness. He showed me how suffering worked. He showed me what suffering was and made me experience it too. I am forever grateful. I wouldn't choose that. I would never choose that. But he showed me what suffering is and what darkness is. And though it is painful beyond measure, I respect, admire, love and honour him for the lessons he taught me.